it's interesting that when we dream, we have absolutely no control over that. Mm-hmm. Right? Like we're just injected into this world where none of the laws of physics apply, and our awareness of that doesn't seem to matter. We just accept it as normal, as reality. And it's not even us dreaming. Like it's almost like someone is dreaming. Like you can't even say yourself is dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like you're playing a character.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like playing a character. I've been having a lot of dreams recently where I am in a familiar space, but it's all like morphed and different, and that's been a trip for me. Because it's like, it is like a bending of reality almost.
So like an augmentation of this reality.
Mm-hmm.
So share with us this practice you've been doing, and how's it been going so
This
far?
lucid dreaming practice. Yeah, so this whole lucid dreaming practice is, I guess, to obtain some sort of control over the dream world. But I mean, even still, it would be minimal at that, because you're not really, I think from what I've heard from expert lucid dreamers, I haven't gone too much into it, but I hear like they're able to manipulate the reality they're in, but they're not able to just be injected into like a blank canvas and create, you know, the world they're in per se. But they're able to manipulate the reality that they're in. So even within that, there's not that much choice. Whether it be like subconscious programs creating that reality that they're injected into. But yeah, the practice is I don't know, I've kind of just arbitrarily decided to set these alarms every hour to remind myself, am I dreaming? And it's just a label on my phone, am I dreaming? And I check by doing a little jump squat and trying to fly, because I know I can't fly in this reality yet. And yeah, so it's just a little check. It's like, okay. And the idea is that it becomes, eventually you make that habit, and you know, creates like a strong enough neural pathway in your mind that eventually you're just going to do that, like, you know, as if it was just something that you would always do during the day. I can't come up with a good example, but like, and then all of a sudden you do that in your dream, and then hopefully in your dream you just take off and fly, and you'd be like, oh, okay, here we go. Now let's start trying to manipulate this reality.
Have you ever left your body while dreaming and been conscious of it?
So no, I've never left my body while dreaming. I've left my body while not dreaming. But the best like lucid dream I've had recently, I think the best lucid dream I've, like semi-lucid, it wasn't really lucid because I chose not to even do anything in it. But it was this dream I had a few weeks ago. It was a series of dreams, actually. The first time I ever had this, where I met this older woman. It was kind of like the crone archetype I realized after. And I met her for the first night and the second night. And in the second night, I realized I was back meeting this same person, but we were in this new reality. And it was almost like it wasn't like, oh, I'm dreaming. It was like, oh, like I'm here, but I'm also back there. It was like almost a recognition of a dual existence thing, but I didn't do anything about it. I was like, I'm supposed to just sit here and listen to this woman. So I don't know if you want to call that lucid or not, but that was my experience with it.
Wow, that's trippy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had dreams where I was leaving and levitating out of my body while staring at my face. So I was coming up and I was looking at my face, and I would hover above myself in my bed. And then I'd get really scared because like the room was like making all these weird sounds, kind of like when you're in like that sleep paralysis state where it's all like,
Yeah.
and I'm like staring at myself on the ceiling. And I'm like, I could totally fly right now and like go off. But I'm like, no, that's too scary. And I just go back in. But I often wonder what would happen if I was like ballsy enough to just fly and take off. And I feel like that's like when you're talking about lucid dreaming and wanting to fly, like do you feel like maybe you would get scared, or are you ready to just fly? Do you think you could do it?
I'd hope so.
I hope so. I hope so too.
I don't know.
It's more about what
yeah.
that character in your dream wants to do.
Yeah.
Because like
I guess.
That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
this recurring dream, because what you're saying is doing the jump squat, but I have this recurring dream I've had since I was a kid. Probably haven't had it for like 5 or 6 years, but total probably had it 100 times, where I'm playing basketball, because I used to play when I was a kid, and I was playing, and then I go to jump, and I just go, whoa, and jump like so high. I'm like, what just happened? And then I land back down and wake up, but I don't fly. So like there's this part of me that just because you're way up in the air, you know, doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna automatically fly, at least in my experience. You know, I feel like there's also a part of your, I don't even know, your intention that needs to be like jump and like I'm flying or something, you know, like
Yes.
like literally be
Yes.
stating that, or going somewhere that's like with the intent to fly or something. I don't know, it's hard to say. But I think the main thing that people usually try to do is try to wake up in the dream. So like noticing the things that are anomalies within dreams, and then those things that you see, you're like, oh, I am dreaming. So my first experience ever, I think I was 8 years old, and someone had told me that about lucid dreaming and how you could just intend to be awake in your dream and conscious, and you can just do it. And I was like, wait, what? No, you can't do that. If I could, I would have done it. And they're like, no, you have to tell yourself before you dream that you're gonna do that. And I was like, okay. And I was like, and then what do you do? He's like, you can do whatever you want. I just go around punching people in the face. And I was like, amazing. And then that was my entire dream. Is the next day, or sorry, that same night, I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I went straight into it and started punching people in the face. And from there, and yeah, I don't, when you're 8 years old, that just seems like the thing that you need to do. But from there, unfolding, like the future point was a lot of lucid dreaming, but a real lack of control. I feel like that was probably one of the, not most lucid, because there's a part where you know you're dreaming, and then there's a part where you take control of the dream. So when I was going deeper into it, there was one practice where you can turn it into a, not necessarily a blank slate, but you know, there's the practices of like waking up with your watch, or lights don't turn on and stuff. So I'd have those, but then the only few times was I able to turn around and intend before turning that there's going to be something, and it's going to be the exact thing that I want. Like, Great Wall of China, let's do this, right? Or super hot chick, let's do this, you know? Like, yeah, but like having some really strong intention, you can control the dream to that degree. But I feel like I've only had those maybe like 3 or 4 times, whereas lucid, knowing I'm dreaming and being like, I'm dreaming, but I'm like in a sports car and I can't really get out of it, right? There's no like fly mode at that point, right? But yeah, I've had lots of those kinds of dreams. They seem like areas where we can go, where we get things out of our system though, right? I'm curious, what do you guys think about like, what would be the purpose of lucid dreaming other than that, other than getting things out of your system?
Yeah, I think it could be used to like dive deep into the subconscious mind and, you know, see what we're not looking at, see what we're not paying attention to, and like maybe unearth some of these unconscious programs that are causing, you know, negative events in our life. So I think it could be used as a tool to maybe master
How do you make that correlation? I'm curious.
the self. I mean, because it seems like when we dream, we're accessing this like deep part of, I don't know what else to call it than it is, like the landscape of the mind, and it almost seems as if we're encountering like, quite often we encounter archetypes. We can have shared experiences with people, and it's like we're operating on or interacting with like some deeper substrate that exists across the mind of humanity, or the mind of the universe even, perhaps, right? And so, which is usually not available to us to access, right? We're not usually able to rationalize on that level because it's so obscure and it's like almost chaotic, right? Where things don't really make sense. You know, all of a sudden, fucking glass can turn into a dragon or something, you know, and you don't even think twice about it. So I think, I don't know, yeah, that's just kind of my feeling behind it. I don't really have a better reason, but yeah, yeah, I think it could. I mean, what else? Yeah, what else? What other good would it be used for? I don't know.
Well, yeah, just how's it useful? What do you guys think? How's lucid dreaming
I mean,
useful?
I've always found dreaming as like an experimentation of like trying things out, or like you said, getting things out of your system. It's like when you have like those like anxiety dreams, it's like you're purging that emotion like out through something. That's how I've always felt it is for me anyway. And like for me, like I have reoccurring dreams that come up when there's certain things or experiences that are happening in my life, like serving dreams, like the anxiety, the serving dreams, or I always have bears in my dreams when I'm hiding something. So that's how I've always felt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think dreams are a very powerful place of processing. And in the day-to-day life, humans, we often don't take care of our emotional stuff. And I feel like we instantly get an opportunity to do that by going into the dream space, because God, or whatever you wish to label it as, has created us to dream, and we release 5-MeO and we go into altered states of consciousness, which we do go into when we choose to go into altered states of consciousness to do deep healing and processing. And so I feel like the universe has just gifted that to us so that we automatically have an opportunity to go into a deep processing space that is super expansive and infinite, you know, and as are like all the realms that we can traverse in. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I know that I often have really heavy dreams. My dreams are very, very heavy, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with like the heaviness of my past that I'm continually processing. So yeah, but lately I've been drinking chamomile tea before bed and like taking some like sleep supplements, and I found that my dreams have been a lot more peaceful and a lot nicer. So maybe there's some kind of correlation where Spirit is like, yeah, like take these supplements and go into like a nice dream space. It doesn't always have to be so intense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that you can kind of like play around with a little bit.
It's interesting that you say that. It actually just reminded me of something. I went into a space of like deep healing this summer, and I processed so many things from my childhood through my dreams. One of them being where I had to face my father being really ill and possibly dying in my dreams. But the cool thing was, and this is kind of what always connected me back to the emotional connection, was when I was dreaming and I was waking up feeling like really stimulated or anxious or really upset, or like sometimes I'd wake up crying, that I knew that there was still work to be done. But then when I could go back into the dream and I could see it differently, or I was just so calm and so at peace, I was like, okay, it's processed, it's good. And then I never got the same dream again. Yeah.
Tying up loose ends in the dream world.
There's been an experience that I've had a lot where I've heard of people having things come up in their dreams, and yeah, it is like a place for us to process. But one of the things that has happened continually is I feel an energy in response to what's happening. So it's like, let's say something bad happens, like there's an accident, right? And in everyday life, I'm in a rush somewhere and I feel irritated. In the dream, it's as if it's like it's purging out of you, but it's so much stronger, right? It's like, oh, there's like so much energy coming out. And sometimes though, I feel like also we can convince ourselves that we're no longer angry at traffic. But then in the dream, you're like, why was I so angry at traffic? It's like, well, maybe you've just done a really good job bypassing that anger that you once had, that you just convince yourself, I'm a good little spiritual Buddhist or whatever you want to call it, right? And I've transcended the traffic anger. I feel like a lot of us have done that about maybe death or fears or anxieties. And I've noticed in dreams we can will that into our experience. We can like want to have a peaceful dream, you know, we can drink caffeine before bed, probably have more anxiety dreams, but I've also had a lot of dreams. Like, a lot of people say that you can't die in your dream. I don't know why they say that. I've had a lot of dreams where I'm getting killed or dying. I'm curious how many of you guys have had those kinds of
I have.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of like really crazy dreams. I've had crazy dreams since I was a little kid. My mom has had crazy dreams, and my mom had a dream that she died. I've had dreams that I've died. I have had dreams of being raped before, like really like watching a movie. So vivid. So yeah, I think anything can happen in dreams.
It's interesting you say that. So when you mean watching a movie, were you pulled out almost in like that God perspective, that third person objective, omnipresent perspective?
I always get a weird combination of everything. Like, I feel like a lot of my dreams I am watching, but then it also feels like I am there, part of it. It's like
Yeah.
I'm experiencing it all at the same time from every angle. And then I also get a lot of dreams where it's me, but it's not me. Like, it's someone else, but I know that it's me. It's the same as like when you see someone in a dream, it's like, oh, that's my mom, but it isn't your mom. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I've had those too, where you're identifying almost with another version of yourself. And that brings it up like a weird question. It's like, okay, like what am I then? What is this feeling of me in this dream? And then I've had a couple of those ones where it's like, yeah, me like literally watching a movie, and I'm like, super interesting. Like, this is, it just gives you an interesting view on perhaps what is consciousness, and like almost what these sages talk about, these enlightened individuals talk about when they get there. It's just like they dissolve, everything is nothing, and it's just like they've become everything, and it's like to be able to zoom out. From this little point that feels like we're behind our head, usually, to experience that all-encompassing state of consciousness is a really interesting thing, because it's like, okay, well, what does that mean about me then? Have you guys experienced that feeling before?
in dreams or
In dreams or in life, yeah, or in a hallucinatory state.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so in the hallucinatory
Yeah.
psychedelic space. Dreams for me aren't very profound in that way. I don't know. Yeah. They're usually like, my dreams are just very dense and dark and intense, and just like visiting old places that I've been to so many times. I often revisit like a lot of the same spaces, or revisit like interesting things from my past, or like in another lifetime. I don't know, just like weird, kind of like a dark movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just not like
And
anything the sages would be proud of.
well, you don't know that. Maybe they would. And when you've experienced it in like a hallucinatory state, are you able to stay there for a while, or is it because personally for me, when I recognize it, I'm like, oh, they're right back in again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've worked quite a bit with 5-MeO DMT, and it does blast you out into like a million different fragments of oneness. And when you're in the heat of that moment, when you're all blasted into a zillion infinite pieces, there's no way to understand what's going on. But then as you start to fragment back into your embodied being, as you're slowly coming back in, I find that there are a lot of spaces where I'm able to like see from that perspective, from that like a God-like perspective, and really be able to like hold it there for minutes, And that's quite lovely.
Yeah.
a whole minute.
A whole minute.
Well, how about that, sages?
How about that?